Hey everyone, welcome to a video for Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards. Any games from this series will contain explicit content, gore, sexual content, violence, language, all the bad stuff that you're not supposed to like or enjoy. So if that stuff offends you, please turn off the video now. Again, there is a warning for awesome, mature content and profanity. Any of these videos in this series will have these. There is no way around it in showing off the content. Therefore, again, if this stuff offends you at any point or before you watch the video, please turn it off rather than complain about it. That is your final warning. Thank you. Bye. Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards Melee at Murdershroom Marsh. This is set number 3. All games are independent, standalone games, but you can potentially mix and match them all. If you want to know how to play, check out the link in the description where I have a how to play the generals of the Epic Spell Wars spell building games. And then in this video, I will just go over the new stuff and what's actually in the box. Just start off, so basically, if you're not familiar with the game, it's just a quick thing it's you play as wizards, creating spells. You're taking different parts of cards, beginning, middles, and ends, and creating spells to defeat and kill your opponents. And the various other components. There's various glyphs, which are different types of cards you play. So one of the new mechanics for the game are delivery cards that have 2 glyphs in the bottom. So if you're ever rolling, you're always rolling for a minimum of 2 dice in your power, even without the help of other components. So this could be very definitely helpful because if you have something that needs, multiple, you can actually get more in there, as well as it'll count for different ones. So for example, this one's going to count as both primal and dark. So I'm rolling, I'm going to automatically get to roll 2 different dice, no matter what, so that's definitely helpful. But now I could either pair it up with either a primal or a dark. So far they are only showing up on the deliveries, so you're not going to have 6 total, but we're going to get that. The next new mechanic we have are cantrips. Cantrip is a new keyword found on source and quality cards that let you add more components to your spell when your initiative comes up. Next to our cantrip will be a discard requirement such as 2 source cards, 2 qualities, or 2 deliveries. If you make the required spells from your hand, is added to your spell. Because your initiative already started, adding cards does not make the spell slower. You may add cantrips to your spell anytime. So there already been cards that will let you normally just say, hey, you do this, add a card. But typically when you get those, that's essentially a replacement effect. These will let you pay to add more. So we have this one, for example, which says, well, this is actually a keeping reaction, but it does say you may play cantrips from your hand as if it was your turn. Let's see if I can find one. Here's a cantrip. So this one would normally just do 2 damage to the foe on your left, but if you do the cantrip by just discarding 2 quality cards, add the spell from your hand to your spell. So you can play these from your hand to add them into other spells. So it lets you make your spells bigger at a moment's notice after you've already activated, but you get to choose when to do it, but it does cost you a decent amount. So if you not have the required discards to enact it, you can still play it as part of the spell as usual. In that case, just ignore the cantrip and resolve it like normal. So then we have Bad Trip, which is another one. So these are new keywords found on source and qualities. When you're seeing too many colors and feel the effects of Murdershroom on the brain, typically a lot of different glyphs in the spell mean your spell will be weak, but a Bad Trip turns it on its head. After resolve a Bad Trip card once, check the number of different glyphs in your spell. Be sure to count any dead wizard cards, creatures, and treasures you have. If you have 4 or more different glyphs in your spell, resolve Bad Trip a second time. If you don't have enough glyphs, it resolves once. the first resolution might trigger the second. So we have one here. So this one says, Cannabusting says heal 5, then lose 1 HP for each card in your hand. If you have bad trip, it says if your spell contains 4 or more different glyphs, resolve this again. Yeah, so with the dual glyphs, you might have an easier time getting that. Playing cantrips to be able to add more cards will let you do that. As well as it says, make sure you're checking if you have creatures in play, because they also count, dead wizard cards or treasures. And then when set 6 comes out, there are going to be some dead wizard tokens that might additionally have them. So if you're playing, adding those in there, that's definitely another thing to do. Alright, so that was the new stuff. Let's look at what our components are. Of course, we're going to get our 7 dead wizard tokens to keep track of who's winning. Your dice, we're going to get 5 dice this time. You're going to get your 6 counters. I don't have all. Here's the other couple. Keep track of your health. Then the new type of card we're also going to get, which doesn't really mention too much in the book, is just an alternate way to play the game. We have kill tokens. So on one side it's going to say various words like kill, execute, snuff, off, zap. Various things like that. You're going to get 15 of these. On the other side is a victory point. So they do mention these very briefly in the beginning of the game. It's just changing how you win the game. So the object is, the older games, it used to be, or first two is, you just had to get up to 3 points and you won. So now it's you play until you want to quit, basically, which is over 3 matches. But whoever gets the most points, you get 1 point for every wizard you kill. So you take one of those tokens, as well as a point for being the last wizard standing. So winning the game each time doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win the game. Because if you sit around and, you're playing a 4-player game, and the other players eliminate the other 2 people, and you just eliminate the last one, you could potentially all still be tied. You'd have 1 kill for killing them, and 1 for the last wizard standing, but 2 other players could each have 1 token as well. So that means if they win the next game, they could be beating you, because now they have 2 more tokens. So it gives you more an incentive to try and kill people versus just maybe waiting around and sniping off the last person. Not that that's usually something you have a lot of control over in this game. Then we have the token, or the tower. Alright, then the last game component we have is the Murdershroom standee, which, much like the first game, does not have an effect of its own, and I think that's because there are 2 reasons. One is there's so many different other new effects on these cards, they didn't want to add the word standee as well, or add additional rules, or it just got misprinted, and it didn't list it in the book at all. I could not find it. But that's fine. If you're using, you can mix matches, you're mixing this with other sets, or previous sets, you can always use the standee instead of one of the other ones. Alright, so then let's look at our characters. So we're going to start with Malice from Weirdland, which is, of course, an Alice in Wonderland reference. Smaller and stranger, it's kind of gothic. Mad Hatter Octopus, there's a frog butterfly guy, some teapots. So that's her. Then we have Gunstar the Poo Pope, a dung beetle. Lord Dark Lord, the Lord of Darkness and Kittens. It's a big evil knight who loves his kitty friends. Mad King Munch the Nutcracker. I love these designs on these characters. Embryonics, Archmage of the Future. She's still a baby. Well, not quite a baby yet. Then we have Briny Brittany, Terror of the Deep. So she's holding one of the trophies. This is one of the winners of one of the tournaments. So they got their picture on a card. I don't remember which number tournament this was, but that's definitely a cool thing, and reason to go in the tournaments. We have Thonking Early, so smart and dumb orc, or giant, whatever. And our last one's another game winner, Rear Admiral Pat Mahoney, or Mahaney, Pat Mahoney, probably. There's his trophy there, and he's riding a narwhal. So those are our different wizard champions. Let's hop in and look at our spells. We're going to start with primal spells. So like all other games, there are 2 copies of each of these. So I'm only going to be showing the one. So we have Rumpelstiltskin, Cannabussing, Rapture Raptor. Let's see if I can... I want to kind of zoom in, but I want to make sure we can still see everything. Alright. So Rumpelstiltskin has keep. So keep each creature you resolve this turn. So that's actually really cool. Then you don't have to roll for their effects, or even if you do, it doesn't matter. Reaction. If you die before the spell resolves, you may play cantrips from your hand as if it were your turn. So that's kind of cool. So if you die, you can go ahead and add your cantrips in anyhow. And get some extra bonus effects. Maybe it might heal you enough to keep you alive. Who knows? Get that to focus a little bit better. Sorry for the glare and the darkness. We have Cannabussing. Heal 5 HP, then lose 1 HP for each card in your hand. So now this is where the cantrips and stuff becomes really cool, because normally you'd only be able to play like up to 3, maybe 4 cards if you're lucky per turn. With the cantripping, you can play a card by discarding 2 other cards. You can have a lot of cards out of your hand at this point. And then Bad Trip. If your spell contains 4 or more different glyphs, resolve this again. And then Rapture Raptor. Target yourself, roll, either heal 1 HP, 2 HP, 3 HP, or keep. And this is a creatures. We're going to get more creatures in here. Alright. Then the next set of primals are the Sticky Ickies, Grunting, Dirty Fighting Bum. The Sticky Ickies says add 1 die to each of your power rolls this turn. Bad Trip. If your spell contains 4 or more different glyphs, resolve this again. Grunting, draw a card and reveal it. Deal 2 damage to the foe on your right for each glyph in your spell that matches the glyphs on the card you drew. And then Dirty Fighting Bum, strongest foe, 1, 3, or 3 damage, and keep. So definitely some really cool effects here. Alright, our next set is we have the Naughty Gnomes, Camel Toad, Murder Merkin. Naughty Gnomes have deal 1 damage to each weaker foe. For each foe that dies this way, heal 1 HP. If none die, draw a card. Camel Toad. The foe on your left discards 2 cards. The foe on their left discards 3 cards, and the foe on their left discards 4 cards, and so on until each foe has discarded cards from their hand. And then Murder Merkin. Target the 2 foes on your left. 1 damage, 2 damage, or 2 damage for each different glyph in your spell. So that can get very powerful if you're playing them cantrips and adding stuff in and all that fun stuff. Then we have our last primals. The Brown Growlers, Whip Willowing, Gout Smelt Melkick. Brown Growlers heal 3 HP, cantrip, discard 2 deliveries to add this card from your hand to your spell. Whip Willowing, deal 2 damage to the foe on your left, cantrip, discard 2 quality cards to add this card from your hand to your spell, and Gout Smelt Melkick. Target 2 foes on your right, 2, 3, or 4 damage, and you heal 2 HP. So it's definitely a fun bunch of cards. Alright, let's hop into our illusions, which always adds some interesting, crazy effects. So Billy Bong Blasters. Bing a Go Gong, Sushi Squid. So Billy Bong says deal 1 damage to a foe of your choice. That foe deals 2 damage to a foe other than you. Reaction: if you die before it plays, you may play tantrums from your hand as if it were your turn. Bingo a go going. Ugh. I love the balls that have the different elements on them, the glyphs. Draw 2 cards and reveal them. Deal 1 damage to a foe of your choice for each glyph on the card you drew. And Sushi Squid, a foe of your choice, 1, 2, or 5 damage and keep. Our second set, and that's a creature, of course. Professor Dr. Science's Psychomagnetic Nipple Ninja. So we have Professor Dr. Science. Add the top card of the main deck to your spell. Bad trip. If your spell contains 4 or more different glyphs, resolve this again. Psychomagnetic. Draw a card and reveal it. Deal 1 damage to your weakest foe for each glyph in your spell that matches the glyphs on your card you drew. Bad trip. Contains 4 or more. Draw again. And Nipple Ninja. Target foe of your choice. 1, 2, or 3 damage. Draw a card and keep. It seems like the damage, at least so far, is a lot lower, but I think it's because you're adding so many extra cards to the game. That they're worried if the damage is too high, you'd be killing people too fast. But that could just be because Primal's kind of a healing color, and Illusion's kind of like messing with stuff, so maybe like when they start getting like the Elemental and Dark, they'll be a little bit more powerful. We have 8 biddies. Confusing Titty Twister. 8 biddies says roll a die and deal that much damage to a foe of your choice. Any player may destroy a treasure they control to have you re-roll the die. Confusing, a foe of your choice may give you a creature they control. If they do not, discard their face down source and quality components. Ooh, I love those ones. We don't just see those too often. Where you get to do damage or mess with opponent's face down cards. And then Titty Twister. Foe of your choice, discard a random card from your hand. Deal 2 damage or 3 damage. That's of course a double glyph spell. And then our final illusions are Boobarina's Phantasmic Sting Revolt. Boobarina says put a card from your hand on top of the main deck. Cantrip. Discard 2 source to add this card from your hand to your spell. Phasmatastic. Foe of your choice discards their hand, and you can cantrip that one by discarding 2 delivery. And Sting Revolt, foe of your choice, 1 damage, 2 damage and draw a card, or 2 damage for each different glyph in your spell. So that can get very powerful if you get the higher ones. Yeah, it's like less damage overall, generally, but they have the potential of getting really high. Alright, then we have our elementals. You have Howard Combustador's Combusting Hobot. So Howard here is another one of our champions. So instead of getting an oversized wizard card, he got a regular spell card. So that's kind of neat as a world champion belt. So it says destroy a treasure you control. If you do, each foe destroys a creature they control. Reaction: if you die before the spell resolves, you may play any cantrips. So it says each one seems to have that reaction card. Combustion. Foes on your left and right each take 1 damage for each treasure they control. Bad trip. If it contains 4 or more glyphs, resolve again. And Hobot. Target. Each foe who has not yet acted this round. 1 damage. 1 damage and they discard 2 cards from their hand. Or 3 damage and you keep them. And there's of course a creature. That could definitely be very powerful. We have Fire Crotch's Smelted President Asshole. So Fire Crotches steal a foe's creature. Ooh, that's fun. Bad trip. If it contains 4 or more, resolve this again. Smelted. I'd play out this Delted card too. That'd be kind of funny. Draw a card and reveal it. Deal 2 damage to a foe on your left for each glyph in your spell that matches glyphs on the card you drew. And President Asshole says, foe on your right, 1, 2 damage and keep, and 4 damage. That's actually kind of interesting, is that the keep one's in the middle. So that makes them a little bit harder to keep. Which, makes the game a little bit more interesting when they're not always in the exact same spot. Alright, our next set of elementals are Burning Man's Volcanine Frying Eyes. So Burning Man, of course, is big, giant, flaming wood sculpture, and there's all these drunk hipsters, it looks like. Says deal 1 damage to a stronger foe for each face down card and creature in front of them. Volcanine, deal 1 damage to each foe for different glyph in your spell, and Frying Eyes. Says each foe 1 damage, 3 damage, or 3 damage, and you draw a card. I'm guessing he took some sort of drugs that blew out the back of his brain, is what it looks like. Because that's it's supposed to be the Murdershroom. It's supposed to be kind of like a drug-themed set. At least some of it. We got some of that in there. We have In Dragon's Sissy Sizzling Scrote Explosion. In Dragons says deal 3 damage to the strongest foe and cantrip, discard 2 delivery cards. Sissy Sizzling, deal 2 damage to your weakest foe and cantrip for 2 quality cards. Or Scrote Explosion, foe on your left, no effect, 2 damage, or 2 damage for each different glyph in your spell. Interesting. So your 2 damage, I assume it's supposed to be your scrotum exploding into different, in hitting them. Kind of funny. Alright. Then we have our next card type, we have Dark. So usually are a little bit more devastating cards with drawbacks. We have Hanged Puppet Hitler's Hellacious Deathbed. So Hanged Puppet Hitler says destroy 4 treasures you control, up to 4 treasures you control, deal each foe 2 damage for each one you destroyed. So that's kind of cool. You can deal up to 8 damage to everybody. Reaction, if you die before it plays, you can play cantrips from your hand. Hellacious, deal 4 damage to a random player, possibly yourself. Bad trip, if it contains 4 or more glyphs, resolve again. And then Deathbed, foe on your left, draw a card, 2 damage or 3 damage, and keep. So you see, yeah, a little bit more damage on these cards, but there's also some big drawbacks to them, which is pretty much how the Dark works. Our next Dark set are Cocky Clamp's Cannibalistic Satan's Scumbags. Cocky Clamp says draw a card and reveal it. Deal each foe 1 damage for each glyph in your spell that matches the glyphs on the cards you drew. Cannibalistic, draw 1, 2, or 3 cards, lose that much HP, then heal 2 HP for each dark glyph drawn this way. And Satan's Scumbags, target each foe with 10 or more HP. 2 damage, 3 damage, or 4 damage, you take 1 damage and keep. Cool. So one thing I'm really hoping for is, I don't think we've seen it a lot, or I don't think we've seen it in previous sets, but maybe in some of the other sets, is that there's some way to put cards back on top of your, I guess because you're drawing from the same deck. It'd be interesting to be able to look to see what's coming so you can prep some of these. We have Princess Pestilence's Hazardous Adult Responsibilities. That's funny. Alright, so Princess Pestilence says, roll a die. If it's even, heal that much HP. If it's odd, you and foe of your choice take that much damage. Bad trip, can explore more different glyphs, resolve this again. Now, I don't believe, though, the bad trip is optional. Cantrip you can opt to do in your hand because you have to discard. I think bad trips you're forced to do, as long as you have 4 or more glyphs. You have to kind of also pay attention to that. Hazardous. Roll a die. Each player, including you, who does not destroy a treasure they control takes that much damage. And Adult Responsibilities. Strongest foe, 1 damage, 3 damage, or 6 damage, and you take 2 damage. So you notice there's a lot more stuff in here for destroying treasures. And that's because they added the everlasting ability on these. So lots of these treasures now stick around. And this, starting with this set, they start sticking around even after your character dies. So instead of normally your character dies, you get rid of all your treasures, and you have to start over. Now you're going to be able to keep them, and this will actually work very well with Sugar, assuming that set 6, which gets rid of the rounds, essentially. So, like, everyone dies, you just keep coming back repeatedly. It should work really well with that as well, because in that way, the more reason to just, collect more treasures over a course of time, so you have more reason to destroy them. So here our last dark is we have Goo Goo Gaz, Purgatorium, Demonic Dinner. Goo Goo Gaz, which is a bunch of babies in a blender, says deal 2 damage to each player, including yourself, and then you can cantrip to discard 2 source cards. Purgatorium, dry dead wizard card. Ooh, that's fun. Cantrip, discard 2 delivery cards, then add 1 from your hand to your spell, and then Demonic Dinner. A weaker foe, 2 damage, and you take 1 damage, 3 damage, or 2 damage for each different glyph in your spell. Nice. Alright, and our final glyphs are the Arcane. We have King Tuttenput's Multitudinous by Triclops. So King Tuttenput, which I hope he becomes a champion wizard at some point. Gain a treasure, cantrip, discard 2 source cards. Multitudinous, draw a card for each different glyph in your spell. And then by Triclops, target 2 foes on your right. Keep, or 2 damage and keep, and 3 damage. Ooh, I think it's the first guy that has double keep, so he's gonna have a good chance of keeping him. Although the first one, he just doesn't do anything, so. We have Pigpox Junior Junkies, Freaky Geeking, LSD, Laser Sting Dolphin. Pigpox Junior Junkies, of course, Harry Potter reference. Deal 1 damage to each random foe for each treasure you control. Bad trip, your spell contains Spore, resolve this again. Freaky Geeking, gain a treasure. Bad trip, if you contain 4 or more, it resolves again. And LSD, the Laser Sting Dolphin. Target weakest foe, 2 damage, 3 damage, or 3 damage, and keep. Alright, our next set is Zap Occultiosis. Lacerus. Ugh, I'm gonna butcher that word. Lacerus. I'm done. Flaming Anus. It's like Lacerate, but it's Laceronius. Maybe it's Laceronius? Flaming Anus? Alright. Zap Occultiosis. Draw a card and reveal it. Deal 2 damage to your strongest foe for each glyph in your spell that matches the glyphs on the card you drew. The Lazarus card. Steal a foe's treasure. Deal 1 damage to each foe you do not steal a treasure from. And then Flaming Anus. Each foe with a treasure. Deal 1 damage, 2 damage, or 4 damage, and then discard a random card from their hand. Oh, so it's kind of cool. So like the other 2 kind of work together. Or work against each other. Alright, then our last set of cards are Wizardo's Whacking Staffs, Forfeiting, Bad Brain Day. Wizardo Whacking Staffs, steal a treasure from the foe on your left or right. Reaction, if you die before it's resolved, you may play cantrip as if they were in your hand. Forfeiting, deal 2 damage to the foe on your right, cantrip for 2 quality, or Bad Brain Day, a stronger foe, deal 2 damage, 3 damage, and you gain a treasure or 2 damage for each different glyph in the spell. So, overall, what's really cool about this is the cantrips, the bad trips are some really neat effects, and the dual glyphs have some really cool ideas. The only downside, I would say, to like all of this is because there's so many different elements being added into this one set. A lot of the abilities are just almost pretty much repeated from color to color. Like, a lot of them have the same thing on the bottom of their dual glyphs is, oh, if you roll it, you do 2 damage for each glyph in your spell. Which is fine, because it's nice to have that multiple times versus on one card. But it would have been cool to see that in multiple different ways. Like, hey, if you have multiple glyphs, your creature gets to attack, or something like that. I guess for the power rolls, or if they have other different power rolls. But they'll interact with everything else so much more, it's not that big of a deal. Alright. What else do we have? We, of course, have our 8 wild magic cards. So now it does specify, I think they updated these in this set, so now they may be discarded from your hand as of their source, quality, or delivery. Because before you had no reason to really discard them. So as of now, like as of set 3, they're officially they're not just their own card, they're literally considered to be all 3 types of cards. We have our treasure cards. So let's jump into those and we can zoom in a little bit more on those. Maybe. Alright, hopefully that's readable. Let me see if I can get that a little bit better. Alright, so they have a couple really cool cards in this set for treasures. That count as a creature. So this is Knotty Pine, which counts as a primal creature. So you can target foe, roll for power, deal 2 damage, 4 damage, or 3 damage, and you heal 3 HP and keep. Let's see if I can... Whoops. There, I mean, you can see it a little bit better. Then we have the Satanic Heavy Metal Albums, which count as a dark creature. So, target foe of your choice, 2 damage, 4 damage, 6 damage, and you take 2 damage and keep it. Lamp of Ginny and Tonic counts as an illusion creature, so deal 2 damage, 4 damage, or 3 damage, draw 3 cards and keep. The Stoned Golem statue counts as your elemental creature. Foe of your choice, 2 damage, 4 damage, $3 to each foe and keep. The Forbidden Top Hat, which is your arcane creature. 2 damage, 4 damage, 3 damage, gain a treasure and keep. So that's definitely cool. You get extra characters that count as those. Plus, being that they are creature cards, they also count as glyphs as well. Because they're counting as that type of creature. Then we have some other fun cards in here to help out with glyphs. We have the Sacred Skulls of the Burrows. So these are all based on various famous people, and I'm not even going to sit here and try and be like, oh, who exactly is Burrows in this? You want to know, go look it up. Once for each of your turns, you may discard a arcane card. If you do, and have 3 or fewer treasures, gain a treasure. We have the Sacred Skull of Freud. Once for each of your turns, if you may discard an elemental card. If you do, deal 2 damage to a weakest foe. This is really fun because it's helping between the cantrips and the bad trips, or the cantrips and this. It's letting you, hey, I have too many cards, I can get rid of stuff. These are ways of helping you get rid of these. The Sacred Skull of Poe. You may discard a dark card. If you do, deal 1 damage to each player, including yourself. The Sacred Skull of Leary. For your illusion, if you do, deal 3 damage to your strongest foe. The Sacred Skull of Marley. For your primal, if you do, heal 1 HP. And then we have the Sacred Skull of Hunter S. Once during each of your turns, you may discard a wild magic card. If you do, deal 3 damage to each foe, so that's actually pretty powerful. But there's not that many of those. Now we have this set of cards. We have the Pity Party Pinata. If you're the weakest wizard at the end of the round, not tied, heal 2 HP, and it's everlasting, so this sticks around even if you die. So having these everlasting cards will definitely make the game more interesting for if you have effects that let you discard stuff, because you'll have them around longer. You can use them earlier, as well as for stealing stuff. The Banner of the Catch-Up mechanic. If you're the weakest wizard at the end of the round, draw 2 2 additional cards when refilling your hand. The Poem of the Dingler. No luck, you suck. You're the weakest wizard in the round, deal 1 damage to each foe. The Third Nipple. Once during each your turn, for every 3 matching glyphs in your spell, draw a card. So the first 3 there went for helping if you're the weakest character, help you kind of make a slight comeback. These ones are helping if you can play matching cards. Slot Machine of the Damned. For every 3 matching glyphs in your spell, deal 1 damage to a foe of your choice. Little Piggy's Feast. Once during each of your turn, for every 3 matching glyphs in your spell, heal 1 HP. And the next set we're going to have, if you're the first wizard to act in the round, deal 1 damage to a foe of your choice. Oh, this is the Time Jalopy. Of course, a Back to the Future reference. Slow Roller's Guide. Each time you're the last wizard acting around, deal 1 damage to each of your foes. The Imaginary Talking Dog. You will kill the mailman and wear his skin. That's not nice. Each time you reveal a spell of 2 or fewer components, draw a card. The Spanish Fly. At the start of each round, heal 1 HP for each creature you control. We have the You're Full of Shit helmet. Each time you play a cantrip from your hand, draw a card. We have the Afterlife deck. At the start of your turn, choose a player. You may choose yourself. The target that player discards a card. The Sack of Nuts. Your spells have +5 initiative. And finally, the Power Pill. Your power rolls have +1 to the total. So almost everything in this set has everlasting, not including the creatures, but the creatures are the skulls. But yeah, that's definitely a cool extra combination of cards. So then our final set of cards will be our Dead Wizard cards. So we're going to start with, I'll put the wizard up. They kind of go up, but again, they're not tied to that. It's just the thematic for the card. We're going to have 3 copies of this. It'll be the Creamed Seaman. This counts as an illusion glit card in your spells for the entire game. So that's actually cool. So you get these now, and now they're actually going to count as extra glyphs. It's just another way for you to get more glyphs in your game. Our next one up is Brained for Thoughting Early, which counts as a arcane spell for the entire next game. And we have 3 copies of that. Whoops. We have Shelled for Briny Brittany, which is going to count for elemental spells for the entire next game. And we're going to have 3 copies of that one. For matching Embryonic Kiss, we have Terminated, which counts as dark for the entire next game. And we're going to have 3 copies of those. And then we will have, for the Mad King, Munch Nutcracker will be Cracked Under Pressure. So you have 3 copies of those, which will count as Primal. So that's, a cool way to get some extra cards in to do that. Our next set is we have, for Lord Dark Lord and his kittens, we have the Crypt of Ultimate Evil. After drawing your hand at the start of the next game, reveal cards from the main deck until you find a cantrip. Draw it and the next cards. You get 2 cards with that. So that's kind of cool. So you get to find some cards you need. Right, we're going to have 3 copies of that one. Then we have some extra fun stuff that started doing is we have, for Dunstar, we have Swipe. We have Resolve Now. Steal a living foe's treasure. It remains in play at the end of this game. So now you get to steal somebody else's treasure and you get to keep it. So if you die, it's not a bad thing to have, but you get to pick what happens there. And we have 3 copies of that. The only reason I've been saying we have 3 copies, I'm just saying they're all 3s, because this last one we have 4 copies. And this is for Malice in Weirdo Land. We have Tentacles from the Tomb. Resolve now. Draw 8 cards. Use only these 8 cards to play cantrips immediately if able, then discard the rest. So that's kind of a fun extra thing. Now, this one, more so than the last one, like, if you're just playing Murdershroom Marsh, be probably super powerful. But now if you mix this with 1 set, let alone, the 5 sets or 6 sets that are out, or, how many more come out in the future, if they don't add more cantrips to other sets, then this card is going to become infinitely weaker. So it's kind of up to you if you want, it's when if you're mixing and matching games, you kind of got, it's nice just to be able to say, hey, grab all these, shuffle everything together, I'm done. But on the other hand, there's sometimes you have to look at what you're doing. You have a card like that that's, I can only use cantrips, yeah, but if I mix this another set, I'm going to have a lot less cantrips. Now the one before it said draw until you find a cantrip. Now if you mixed, the 5 current sets that are out, and this is the only set that has cantrips, you could be drawing cards for a while till you find it, but you would eventually find one. So it might be more so it still would be useful, it'd just be kind of a pain. But, that's, the whole thing with all that. Alright, so that is Melee at Murdershroom Marsh. Set number 3. So I have the little mushroom with the 3 at the bottom. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Catch you guys in the next Epic Spell Wars games. Bye.